Okay, since I'm doing this, I already know the other side's going to be the same way. Now, if this gives you any idea how tight these actually are, I'm about 200 pounds and 6 foot, and I'm literally turning the wheel when it's on the car. So, oh my God. Okay, that's out of the way. Now we go back up in the air with it. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and unplug the sensor for the brake pads. Yes, that's right, I said sensor for the brake pads because these do have a sensor. Then we're going to pull these 2 pins right here, which will unlock the pads. And all I'm taking, and you know, honestly, you could probably use a hammer and do this, but I've done it a few times, so I'm just using my clippers and then 1/8 punch and just tapping it out. And that's all it really takes. And then you can just spin it out, and that's the pin you're trying to get out right there. So. We've got a Torx bit. I gotta go get a T55 Torx bit. So let me go find that and then I'll show you what we gotta do next. All right, so bottom bolt, that's the one with the key on it. And the top bolt here is pretty much just a standard Torx bolt, rounded head. So I'll show you it as soon as I get it out of here. It shouldn't take just a second. And there it is. So now something you got to remember is these actually come with hard lines. They're not rubber lines. So when you go to remove this, you've got about enough room to pull this out of the way, and you got to be very careful not to bend that line or flex that line too much, because it can bend it and then you'll get improper flow to your caliper. So I'm going to move this, pull the pads, and then we're going to remove the rotor. So now you're going to need this bolt. I'm going to show you why. So if you've got somebody that's helping you, you know, have them come over and grab the rotor while you gently move this out of the way, and then put the bolt back in to hold the caliper in place. And I'm going to show you how we do it here. Don't have to have help. A lot of times you can grab it and just pull it out of the way and then set it down. But in this case, we've got folks here that can actually lend a helping hand, so not a big deal. All right, if you want to grab this, I'll lift it out of the way. Just pull the rotor off. All right, now I'm going to take this bolt and start it back into the caliper, and that holds the caliper in place while we go and get the rotors turned. So that's really all there is to it. Now we'll put it back together in the opposite direction. Now what I did do while I had that off is I pulled the pad with the sensor. Obviously when you pull it out, you will run across this little piece right here, and that snaps up in there. That keeps tension on the pads and keep them pushed away from the caliper so they're not banging and rubbing around in there. So, you know, if your pads didn't come with these, save that. But the pads we got indeed did come with them, so I don't really care. All right, so the next part is fairly important. So you can push the inside all the way in with your pad, and that's just going to transfer the fluid over here to the other reservoir, because these has 2 bleeders and 4 piston calipers. So now what I got to do in order to get this to completely collapse is I'm just going to crack the bleeder just a little bit. And if you notice, I've already got the clamp set up, and I'm just going to, it's going to lose a little fluid, but at least that way it completely compresses and collapses. And then after that, you just tighten it back down. You don't get any air in the system. You don't get none of that. It's just literally forcing the fluid out of the caliper so you can completely collapse it. Now, what I like to do when I've got everything done, cleaned up, we're in good shape, then I'll take a little bit of brake clean, pull the clamp, let it hit the floor. We'll set that out of the way, pull an old pad out, and that's part of the reason what I use the old pads for. Clean it up and put the cap back on. And that's exactly how we get everything to collapse completely so we can get our new pads in, and then we can fit it all back together. So now I'm going to go ahead and start getting everything prepped for the pads, and I'll show you how we do that. All right, so we came with new little clips like this, obviously. So we're going to pop these back in, and there's obviously places to put them, so they just snap back in place. And then all you really do is just grab your new pad, watch your wire, work it back through how the wire was. And I kind of move it around here behind this clip because you don't want to in-way the clip. And that's how it was before. And it'll only line up one way. I've already got my backing pad on it. So then I grab my new pin, and I'll just get my new pin started after I hold a little pressure on it. Get it started on the top. And we'll go down here and do the same thing on the bottom. And that holds your rear pad in. You can go ahead and place your sensor in the correct location where you want it. It just kind of winds around here, and then you just slide it back on the little piece that it's designed for. So that's all there is to that. Now, all right, so now we take the other pad and we can go ahead and slide it in. And like before, I said you just hold a little pressure on it and slide the pin on through. Sometimes you might have to give it a little tap. Try to hand me that other pin right there. Oh, yep, here it is. Never mind. Because apparently I'm not with it because the pin I was looking for was actually in the caliper. But it happens. It's been a long day, so you got to forgive me on that one. Now, anything will just tap to work these in there. I mean, it doesn't take much. Just give them a little tap, a little tippity tap. And once you see it starting to poke through, you know you're pretty good. And your pads are installed. Now all we have to do is move the caliper out of the way and put the rotor on. And this side is completely done. All right, we are back with our new freshly turned rotors. Hold it up here, check that out. Nice. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this hole, you can see where it's already had the pin in it. We're going to align it with this and put it back together. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the pin. I'm going to take the bolt out. Actually, hold on. There's an easier way to do this. Set that. All right, so now I'm going to take this bolt out that's holding it. I'm going to move this just enough out of the way. In the meantime, I'm going to grab this little pin right here. So you just want to line it up with that right there. Nope, should be that one. Let me just spin a little bit and turn the whole system. All right. And there it is. We can get our bolts started. Now, while we've got that on here, we can take our little impact and impact this back down. Like I said, it don't take much, folks. And that's tight. So, rotor solid. We can move everything into where in position it needs to be, and then we can start just tightening up the bolts. And that's really all there is to it. Now we'll show you how we do the rear, because we do have to put the rear in service mode in order to do it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do the rear. The rear is actually fairly simple. Now what I'm gonna do is, there's this little front plate here, it says Alfa Romeo on it. I'm gonna take my impact, and I think it's a T20 Torx. Just go ahead and pull these out of here. We're gonna need that out of the way anyway. I'll tell you why here in just a minute. So, we get those out of the way, and then I'll take my screwdriver and pry the anti-rattle clips out of the way. Now that's out of the way. And I've already taken the caps off back here. You'll need. All right, so we will need a 7mm Allen. I've already got the caps back off here, so we will just get in there and make sure it's in a loosen, which it was not. Break that one loose. Come down here, break that one loose. And then I'll just take my ratchet off and start spinning them out. So while I get these spin out, then I'll show you what else we gotta do. Okay, so here's where it gets interesting for some folks. So you will need one of these. What this is a brake caliper tool that is designed to put pressure on it and push this in, because this has the electronic parking brake. Now, the thing is, this has a 2-set parking brake, because it'll go in so far, and then you'll have to take a wrench and then tighten it on up to push it all the way in after you've screwed it in. I'll show you that, but first let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Like I said, I've got everything loose. Pads are there, that pad's loose. Just got to pop it off there and then let it fall out. Obviously you can tell it was into the wire saying, hey, we need brake pads on the rear. So get rid of those. Now I'm using size E, which is a size that it actually fits this, and it fits a lot of FCA and Chrysler products. So now here's the thing, a lot of people say, oh, you need to crack the bleeder on this. Well, I don't crack the bleeder, because I've already went in the scan tool and I've already put the car in in-op to where this will just basically fall back into place. If you don't have a scan tool, you need to go through your car's maintenance settings and put the car to where it retracts the electronic parking brake all the way, and then you might be able to push it all the way in. Otherwise, you know, you'll need a professional scan tool to do that. So we've got this. I'll get it set, and then I'll just start tightening it up. It's kind of hard to do this one-handed. All right. Now I need to go find the crescent wrench that I had. 1 second. All right, so I've got my crescent wrench, and I'm literally just going to put a little pressure on this, and you'll know, because when you can feel it starting to set back, okay? No need to get it super tight, and then you can just take your tool and start screwing the caliper back into its serviceable position, which opens it all the way up. Now, I have seen people do this with a old cheapy brake tool and a pair of pliers. Don't do that because it does damage the piston. So, and that's why I always use these. All right, so there, you see it's set. So that's all the way back. Now I can take my crescent wrench and put a little pressure on it and it'll collapse on in. So there it goes. All right, and it's all the way back in. And now you see why we had to take the little Alfa Romeo plate off. So now, once we've got that set, make sure to verify, since I dropped the wrench, and we just give this thing a little loosen and pull it out. And now it's ready for new pads. Now, if you want to go rent a tool to do this at your own shop or your own garage, Evertough have these at, I think, O'Reilly's, and I think it's 67090 is the kit number. And it's something similar to what I'm using. I'm using a Lyle, which is the same thing, only it's got a little bit more options. So just depending on what you want to do, but for like 20 bucks, I think you can rent one. I'm gonna go grab the pads. We'll get them on here and get everything set back in place. All right, so I've got my inner, and they are labeled inner and outer. We're going to slap them in here. Like I said, don't have to turn the rear. The rear is actually in really good shape, so we're just doing a pad replacement on it. We got that one. We'll feed the wire back through, and now it falls right back into the position it should have. So we get that pin started, and then we'll reach over here and grab this and get the lower pin started. Well, sometimes you gotta get down here where you can see what you're doing. All right, now it's time for the ratchet. All right, bottom's tight. Now I didn't tighten it all the way, just so you know. All right, so we got that tightened up. Now we're going to take our anti-rattle clip. We're going to set it back in place here. I'll get the top started. Pull it over. And I'll get the other side started. All right, so now all we got to do is grab these two little torque screws and our dust plate. This is Alfa Romeo, and reinstall it on the car if I can keep from dropping the bolts. But there's one, and here's two. And like I said, don't over torque these. It doesn't take much. So and that's it. Our brakes are complete. So now we'll go ahead and get this down off the lifts, do a review on what we did, and cover everything that it took to do this. And all right, and there it is on the ground, ready to go. Now, to review what we did on this, we changed our front brakes and rotors. On the rear rotors were actually in really good shape, so we just did the rear pads. Now I'll show you what these do when they start to wear. If you look, this has got the sensor on it. Now in the rear it had wore into the wire, which breaks connection, and then once that connects, I said that backwards actually. Once this connects with the ground that is on the rest of the vehicle, boom, it tells you your pad's wore out, change it. So again, that's why they do what they do. Also, like I said, we did put the car in service mode, and I used the Top-Down Elite to do that. You can do that through your in-car settings, going through and putting it into through the maintenance settings and through the car settings and stuff. Through that, you can actually put it and retract the brakes. But we had this, and this is also handy because once we get the new pads on, we can initialize each front and rear independently to activate, especially on the rear, to push the fluid back into the reservoir, so that way we're not losing fluid, or there's not any air or anything that is trapped in the system. So that way it bleeds itself. If you don't have access to these, you can do it through the car, but for us it's just easier to use the Top-Down, and that's how we do it. Now, like I said, on the front, they are 4-piston calipers. So on the front, what we had to do was we had to push one side back. Obviously, you saw me break the bleeder, and then push the other side back. We lost a little bit of fluid. That's normal. That's what has to happen in order for these cars to get the 4-piston calipers all the way completely opened up. This car has the Brembo style on it, so we went back with a Brembo style pad with sensors on the front and rear. Like I said, pretty easy install. You can do this at home in your own little garage or in your driveway. Like I said, just allow yourself some time and follow the proper procedures. You shouldn't have any issues. But for now, that's all we got time for, folks. If you want to go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, see what we're doing next on the channel. Appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.